how can the U.S. military handle China or Russia if they lost against a bunch of people who were farmers, especially in Vietnam and Afghanistan? I mean, we saw what happened to the big old U.S. of A. Well, I'll tell you this. It'll actually be way more easier for the U.S. military to fight against the Russians or the Chinese because the Russians and the Chinese will not hide amongst their own people. You see, in the last 20 years, the U.S. military was quite literally fighting against a force who hides amongst women and children. They hide in hospitals. So whenever the U.S. military attempted to attack an enemy who does that and collateral damage happens, the U.S. military has to change its policies, and it makes it harder and harder for a soldier or whoever to do their job. So let's go back to Vietnam. What happened there? Those guys, they had no technology, no money. How did they beat the U.S. of A., the biggest military in the world? This is how they did it. The exact way they did it in Afghanistan, the way they did it in Iraq. They hide amongst the people. They don't have to follow the rules of war or the Geneva Convention. And this makes it very difficult for any military to do their mission. However, the U.S. military learned their lesson from Vietnam. The U.S. military realized they have to train in a guerrilla warfare sense and in a big warfare sense. So when we go to Desert Storm, we see what happens when a military fights in a conventional fighting style. The U.S. military and her allies absolutely wiped Iraq almost off the face of the earth. Luckily, mercy was shown against Saddam Hussein all the way up until 2003. Again, another evolution of the U.S. military where it started as, a big warfare, we're following the rules of war, but then it changed so quick within a year into militia warfare fighting. And, it was getting to the point where the U.S. military really is just balancing between we need to follow the rules of war, we need to learn how to fight against guerrilla warfare, and now what we're seeing is without Afghanistan being around, the U.S. military is quite literally ready to take a fight against a military who is also ready to take a fight with rules of war. I don't think Russia and China will engage, though. I think they are smart enough to know the U.S. military's history that they have been training for a war like this since the 50s. The U.S. military is so ready to fight. I think that they're just dying for a fight. Now, we all know we do not want a war to break out, but I do want to make this clear. The U.S. military, again, will have a way easier time fighting against Russia and China than they did against those farmers who were hiding in hospitals and hiding amongst the people.